Hi, thank you for joining me. So, bit of an exciting one today, and to be perfectly honest, not the video I was intending to do. I was actually, the next one up on my agenda was the MoFi Hotel California, and I was actually sitting there listening to it, enjoying it very much, when the FedEx man arrived at my back door with a parcel earlier than I was expecting, and in this parcel was the UHQR White Stripes Elephant, and hang on, the Ultra Tape White Stripes Elephant. Have to say, possibly the most anticipated and longed for parcel so far. I've done a video before. I did a video about a year ago. If you want to check that one out, please have a look up here. I'll put the link there. And that was, let me just put these down for a moment. Move my coffee. That was when basically this was released, which was the 20th anniversary release of Elephant, and here is the first and original pressing. An Elephant, as you probably all know, was recorded in 2002 in the UK. I think it was Toe Rag Studios, or one of the tracks was at Maida Vale. Yeah, most of it was recorded at Toe Rag Studios in London in April 2002. And some was recorded at Maida Vale, and one track I think was recorded later on at a later session at Toe Rag. Anyway, or earlier on rather. But as I say, I've done a review between these two, and it's the original pressing. It's a phenomenal album. If you don't know the album, you've probably been living under a rock for the last 20 years. But go and take a listen to it on Spotify or anywhere. But I mean, Seven Nation Army, I just don't know what to do with myself, Ball and Biscuit, and The Hardest Button to Button. I mean, those four tracks in particular are they're just four of the most amazing, coolest sounding, grungy, dirty, bluesy rock that you'll ever hear. And the White Stripes was Jack White and Meg White. Meg White played drums, Jack played everything else, which is pretty much guitar and piano. There's not much other than that, but it's just the production, the way that they have put this together to make an album of just utter magnificence from these two members. It's stunning and it's staggering. Now, just the first thing I want to note is check out the original cover. It's very dark. Jack is in a kind of got a slightly ghoulish green tint to his skin, but if you look at the lace on Meg's dress and the like, it's actually beautifully lit, and I rather like it a lot. And then we've got the 20th reissue, which is, you can see there, they've massively increased the brightness, the exposure, and fiddled with the colour palette. And Jack's wearing, a different outfit on this one. He's not wearing a different outfit. They've just desaturated entirely the colour out of his jacket, but they fiddled around with it. I prefer the original, but that's the 20th anniversary, which again I put a link up there. There's a link down below. Do go and have a listen. And to cut a long story short, this 20th anniversary is just it's a little bit kind of brighter. It's a little bit more open. It's a little bit more ambient. There's a little bit more detail. All in all, I prefer it, but the original is just stunning anyway. I mean, it really is. Quite amusingly, when I got these and started doing this review, I searched the house high and low for this. Even went to my wife. Did we sell it? Did we get rid of it? I don't remember. But anyway, it turned up. Things can get lost here because it's got so many blooming records. Anyway, as we can see here, we've got yet another kind of cover image. So it's much brighter, but Jack's still wearing red, and Meg's wearing black, in fact. So it's, you know, it's all, you know, the four records. It's pretty cool that they keep changing the cover image, but this is these two are, you know, what we're talking about today. Now I'm going to start talking about the UHQR because that's the more affordable, you know, affordable being a relative term, and obviously to the vast majority of you don't have reel-to-reel, you know, 2-track reel-to-reel 15 IPS equipment, essentially a studio recorder, but you probably got a decent record player, and so this is the one that we'll be talking about mostly. So I'm just going to put that to one side for now. Now, so how does the UHQR compare to, well, not only the 20th anniversary, but also the original? Is there a lot of difference? And the simple answer to that is, oh my God, yes. I would say there is a significantly greater difference between the UHQR and the 20th anniversary than there is between the 20th anniversary and the original. And how might you say, does it sound different? Excuse me. Okay, so it really doesn't matter which track you start with. I mean, obviously I started with the first track, Seven Nation Army, but you know, dipped in, played, you know, I played the whole album all the way through, but before even playing it all the way through, I dipped in track here, track there. Just wanted to hear, you know, get a quick shot of what it sounded like in comparison with the earlier recordings or with the earlier pressings. And there's one simple answer to that. It sounds astonishing. Okay, now I absolutely love this, and but I can see that some people might be disappointed, possibly. I've made a real point of not listening to anyone else's reviews so far, because I really like to kind of get my own take on it. But I've listened to it myself, you know, extensively. I've listened to it with my wife, and I've also I had a friend round yesterday who's a record producer, and you know, it's a unanimous decision, and it's blatantly obvious what's going on here. Now, this is. It ought to be added that this, okay, one interesting thing, between the original and the 20th anniversary, I'd say the 20th anniversary is maybe 2 or 3 dB louder in cuts. And that's kind of quite interesting because first thing is, this is a 45 RPM. Let me show you what they are. You'll notice this is black and red rather than the traditional brown and silver. And we've got a red interior rather than the traditional gold. And I will just run through quickly the contents here. So we've got 2 LPs on clarity vinyl, cut at 45 RPM. Now, the original record is a double album, obviously cut at 33 RPM. And so all my comments, all my feelings, or anyone's feelings, I think, probably about 45 RPM versus 33 and double album 45 RPM versions, it's kind of irrelevant in this case because the original was a double album, and it's kind of curious how they fitted. If I just let me show you this, I don't know if it's not easy to see because this is clear, but the first side is 3 tracks. 1, 2, 3, ending here. It takes up the same amount of record space. Yet this is 45, and the original and the 20th anniversary are both 33s. And you're thinking, well, how come they can fit that much more groove in terms of length into the same space? And it's actually it's quite obvious. They just have to kind of shrink the groove, so to speak. And you think, well, no, that's defeating the purpose. That's surely introducing compression. And no, what they've done is this is about 3 dB quieter than the 20th anniversary. By being 3 dB quieter, in order to get the same listening level, you have to turn your preamp up by 3 dB. But you know, that doesn't bother me in the slightest. I use a sound pressure meter when I'm doing sort of comparative listening to make sure I'm pretty much on the money with similar volumes. So you have to turn this one up about 3 dB over the other versions. Although remember that the original is actually slightly, maybe a couple of dB quieter than the 20th anniversary. So it's kind of, you know, your preamp will even that out. You just have to make adjustments. But the noise floor of this Clarity vinyl is so much lower that you really don't notice. I mean, you could probably turn it up 10 dB and it would still seem quieter between tracks because the noise floor is so very much better. Okay, so those are just the sort of little technicalities about the pressing and you know, how you've got to adjust volume for when you play them. But anyway, just to quickly run through this. So there's the 2 records. There's 10,000 limited edition. We've seen this before in the UHQRs. There's the spec sheet. It's pressed on Clarity vinyl, obviously, if you've seen. Here's an autumn 2022, interestingly. So I don't suppose there's anything there that's new to me, no. And then we've got a couple of, lyric sheet. And lyrics is something I want to come on to. And, that's kind of interesting. And then, do you know what, I haven't actually looked at these yet because honestly, I've got them. And I've just been playing them non-stop for the last 2 days. And there's Jack with a tape machine. I think they call that an EMI BTR, but I'm not entirely certain. Anyway, Jack with a tape machine. And there's a A80, Studio A80 master recorder that they're using there, and another 2-track A80 over there. And interestingly, I used an A80 master recorder to replay it, so we're kind of replaying it on what it's made on, basically, which is really, I don't think you can get much more authentic than that. Anyway, I haven't had a good look. I haven't looked through that book yet at all, so I will do in due course. But I just had to dive straight into the listening. So anyway, let's cut to the chase. What happens when you put this on and open your ears and listen to it? It's mind blowing. Elephant is essentially you've got the 2 musicians, Jack and Meg White. Meg predominantly is just drums and percussion and fairly small and basic drum kit at that, and she does do vocals on a couple of tracks. Jack plays guitars. There's at least 2 different guitars on there, I would suggest. Piano, organ. I think that's probably about it. And those guitars are, they'll be, one moment they'll be very cleanly recorded, really beautifully, sort of clean and clear and beautifully open. And then at other points, they'll be absolutely compressed to, just massively compressed, and people talk about compression and they talk about it, as if it's a bloody evil thing. And I know that, audiophiles often, do think of compression as an evil thing. And compression badly used in a mastering production chain can be an evil thing. It absolutely can. It's what sort of fueled the loudness wars and just makes everything kind of sound flat and just, one-dimensional. And that clearly is a bad thing. But really what compression is a tool to a recording engineer or a producer or a mixer. And it's used massively on this album, but it's used to, you know, if you think if you've got a drum beat and it's sort of, you know, time here, amplitude here, so you've got the impact, boom, and then a sort of decay down here. If you compress it, you cut the boom, you kind of cut the, you know, the peak off, and then you raise the whole thing up. What you kind of do is you actually make much more of the decay, and that's you know, that's a tool. You know, it's a creative tool that they use massively on this album. I mean, the boom 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 boom, it's just hugely compressed, but not in a bad way. It's what makes the album. It's absolutely phenomenal. And I'd say, you know, that's something that you won't, you know, you're not gonna undo this and make it sound like, you know, John McLaughlin and you know, Friday Night in San Francisco. That's just ridiculous. It's not going to do that. What you do is you get into the, you know, sonically with the UHQR, you kind of put yourself in the mastering suite, in the mastering studio, and you are hearing what Jack White will have heard when this was being mixed, far closer, far more authentically than you will have ever heard before, and it really is by some margin. It's track after track after track. You'll hear, you know, in the really kind of grungy, dirty, in the most possible beautiful way, phenomenal, powerful, urgent tracks. You'll hear, you know, just the texture of those grungy, growling kind of guitar solos. You'll hear all the sort of the little, instead of just like the, you'll hear the kind of the little pick noises, or the, as he's moving his hand back up, you'll hear finger clips and just sort of just tiny, all these tiniest little things, over and above these thick, dirty, grungy, kind of incredibly powerful. You know, it's like summoning the, you know, the essence of hell and throwing it through a guitar or something. It's magnificent and wonderful and incredible all at the same time. And there's another thing that's just stunning about this is, at times Jack's voice will be quite distant and quite back in the mix, but at other times, and most of the time in fact, it's you know, you've got this sort of the bass, which is the bass drum, which is really massive and thumpy and big, and you know, it's basically, it's kind of compressed. So they'll, you know, it's just a boom, boom, boom kind of sound. And then you might have a really dirty sort of guitar over the top of that, and then maybe some sort of lighter, cleaner guitars on top of that, maybe, or a piano or a bit of organ or something. And then Jack's voice. And the really interesting thing that struck me is just subconsciously, without thinking about it, you can hear every word of the lyrics so much more clearly. Jack's voice is so much clearer. And you know, basically you've got sort of 5 or 6 elements in the mix, if you like, and you can hear each one of them so clearly. It really does feel like you're in the sort of the mixing studio, or the, you know, the mastering studio, whatever, and hear every element that's going on. And it makes the music more urgent, more, you know, even though it's cleaner, because there isn't, unlike the regular releases, these have got everything that we've talked about, but in addition to that, there's an overall kind of mastering dirtiness where they've just pushed all the levels to try and sort of maximize the, you know, the loudness of the record, and there isn't that at all. So, you know, you hear all these sort of studio effects, all these production effects. Basically, the you hear how they've made the album, but all those little sort of, you know, it's not just a big thudder. It's you know, you've got the sort of the little kind of noises. You know, it's like, you know, you can hear the rifle cocking before it shoots you, kind of thing. It's you can hear the sword coming out the scabbard before it chops your head off, almost. It's just, it's more intense. It's far more real. It thunders along at a more impressive pace because you've got all that more texture, all that more colour in every thread in the mix. It's just bloody stunning. It's, you know, it is, I mean, for, you know, for UHQR so far, it's been pretty much sort of like, you know, audiophile-y kind of titles that have come out on it. This is a downright dirty, devilish, just dynamic, dark thing. It's absolutely one of my favourite albums. I think it's a magnificent piece of work. Absolutely you know, by a long way, the best thing the White Stripes ever did in my book, and also one of the best thing Jack White ever did. I've seen Jack White twice live, and he was amazing. But this is incredible. And my wife Jo, she said, you know, we were sat there listening to it, and you know, we couldn't help it, just air guitaring like bloody crazy. Excuse me, just air guitaring, air drumming, just headbanging, really, just thundering along. And it really is, you know, by the time it finishes, you know, your heart's pumping. You feel like you've been at a gig. I mean, or you know, Joe's comment was, it feels like you've just been to a gig. You know, to me, it was like I've just been in the studio listening to them put it together. But really, that is what it's like. It's intense. It's just bloody fabulous. And for I mean, it's $150, and I mean, obviously I'm in the UK here, so I have worked it out. Actually, made a note of this. So this cost me, importing it direct from the US, $163.37. Okay. Now, you've got to bear in mind I was ordering it with the Ultra Tape, and that's, you know, what I'll get onto now. But I just really wanted to talk about this first, because this is far more relevant to far more of you. They're only making 10,000 copies of this, and I confidently think this will be my most played UHQR. It totally doesn't bother me about the 45 RPM thing, because the original was on 2/8 records, so there is actually no change to the, you know, the ergonomics, if you like, of playing this over the original or the 20th anniversary. But sonically, it is a country mile ahead. I will get into numbers in a minute, but I just now want to talk about the tape. Okay, so I'm going to put that there. That's been posted now with the prices on, and then we'll talk about this. And here we are. This really, when they announced it, and this was sort of like a little, almost like a postscript, sort of, you know, oh, by the way, we're also doing on tape. Now this, I fully appreciate, is not going to be relevant to many of you, but you know, it's tape is an absolute passion of mine. It's why I started the website, the Real Trio Rambler, because I just wanted to promote tape. You know, having been like an audiophile and worked in the hi-fi industry for 40 odd years, I just thought I've got to promote tape, because it is quite simply, without question, the best format there is, and you will not hear music sound better. Absolutely, without any question. So this album has again, you know, we touched upon, but it's quite famously known that this album was recorded entirely within the analog domain on sort of vintage equipment. and recorded, you know, mixed onto tape, recorded onto multi-track tape on an A80, as I suddenly now found out from the book in there, which I hadn't previously looked at, and then mixed down onto tape. It seems on an A80, which is what I have. My A80 came from EMI. This would have been well, I'm not sure where they mixed it, but anyway, it's you know, it is what it is. But this is what you get. You get two boxes, all the normal stuff in here. Interesting, I haven't got the big elephant booklet, so there's not quite as many books. There's not quite as much paperwork. But here, look. So sides 1 and 2, they fit onto one reel of tape, which is how the master was on one reel of tape. So that's sides 1 and 2. And then here, we've got sides 3 and 4. And these are one-to-one copies from the original master tape. And you can see, I will try and put a link in here. If I can find, work out how to do that, I'll find it. But there's a video on YouTube where they're at Sterling Sound, and Ryan K. Smith was doing the basically cutting this from the master, and this is a one-to-one of the master. And you can make a copy on proper studio mastering equipment if you've got, you know, someone who knows what they're doing. You can make a copy of a master tape that is, I mean, that's what a production master is. You know, that's what a safety master is. So in most instances, records will be made from a copy of the master. This is a copy of the master. And does it sound better than the UHQR? Oh yeah, it does. Does it sound different to the UHQR? Actually, it sounds remarkably similar. When you go from playing the UHQR to playing the tape, you kind of think, wow, okay, that's yeah, the bass the bass goes deeper, it's more open, it's more dynamic, it's bigger without a shadow of doubt. It's, you know, there's no need on tape to sort of EQ the bass down a little bit just so that, you know, needle will stay in the groove. There's none of that kind of dynamic compression, so to speak, or limiting needing to be done at any area of the frequency response. This is just a straight one-to-one copy of the original master tape. And so how does it sound different and how does it sound better? Well, I mean, it actually sounds very, very similar. So I wouldn't say it's different particularly, but it is in just so much as it sounds even more immediate, even more there. You know, the bass has even more weight and power and drive to it. The guitar, when they're, you know, the guitar solos, when they're absolutely thrashing out hell for leather, you can hear within that one track of the multi-track it just going, you know, full on saturation, sort of compression, you know, mentalness. But every other track on that multi-track is as clear as a whistle. It just doesn't bleed. There's no kind of hangover of, you know, it doesn't matter how powerfully the bass and the sort of the, you know, the guitars are going. The top or Jack's voice or a piano, an organ or whatever, or a cymbal can be absolutely, like, you know, as clear as a fairy just cast it in moon dust, you know, or something. It's stunning. And Jack's voice, again, I mentioned how clear Jack's voice was and how expressive it is. You know, the texture and everything on here compared with the previous issues. And on here, it is utterly holographic. You can hear every single word, every single finger snap, every single guitar pick sort of just, you know, going back up when he's done the strum down and just lifting back up. Every little, you know, finger tap on the side of his guitar body. Absolutely everything, you know. Yeah, it's stunning. It is absolutely stunning. Now, the tape cost $500 in the US. And again, so as I say, I've worked it all out. Basically, the two of them together landed in the UK were $700 and $792, I think. So that makes the tape, if we do the, you know, the proportional split. So the tape cost £544.55. The UHQR 163.37. So, you know, neither are cheap, clearly. But, you know, 550 quid for a, you know, you're never going to hear better than this. Unless you actually get the original master, you will never hear better than this. It's as simple as that. And you're not going to get the original master. And therefore, so the, you know, the absolute gift of an opportunity to be able to buy that for the lucky few who can. And I mean, you know, honestly, I can't afford this. It came out and announced. It went on the credit card. I'll have to worry about, you know, how I afford it later. But there was no way I wasn't going to get it. It is absolutely staggering. But I do appreciate this is very niche, the tape. The UHQR, it is far, far, far closer to the sound of the tape than it is to either of the commercial releases, the previous, you know, regular releases. If we had to put numbers on them, and I know I've just done my John Coltrane thing, and people were really keen to hear, because of course these have come from the same source, you know. They had the original master in sterling sound. Ryan K. Smith run that through, I presume, he took the DSD, because this is available as a DSD SACD as well, which is by far the cheapest way of getting it. You know, I mean, if you can play DSD or SACDs, I just, you know, go and buy it, for heaven's sake. Don't even think twice about it. So if it's me, I have to rip SACDs and extract the DSD file, then I can play those. So it's a bit of a palaver. But ultimately, I don't want to hear things that have been digitised and then undigitised, especially not when they were so, you know, they made such a point of making this analogue all the way through. And, you know, to have this one-to-one copy of the master tape is just, I mean, it is just an absolute gift. You know, it wasn't a gift, I had to pay for it full retail, but you know what I mean. It's an amazing thing. But for those of you who can't play tape, and you might be thinking, I mean, I've had quite a lot of comments about this from friends and you know, friends and viewers and followers, wondering whether they should get this. And I mean, if you even vaguely like this album, I would get this, because it will transport you into the mastering, into the production studio, into the studio. And you know, I've had the, you know, opportunity of being in Abbey Road, in Air Studios, in Real World Studios, in various studios around, well, in the UK, and it's a real honour and a fantastic experience to sort of sit in there and hear these things. And you know, as a hi-fi person, you really haven't got a clue how much you're missing compared with what went down in the studio. And this is so much closer to this. Obviously, I wasn't at this session, but I've heard, you know, I've heard master tapes of sessions I have been at. This is so close to this. So again, let's talk, you know, that horrible thing of numbers. So I'm going to give this 100, of course I am. And I'm going to give this 90, because it just doesn't have the absolute weight, and it doesn't have that absolute holographic kind of resolution that the tape has. And that really is basically down to the physics of playing a cut and pressed piece of plastic with a diamond, and all of the mechanical processes and those tiniest little things that have to be taken into consideration to optimize that replay. you know, and I'm playing this, and again, we you know, I only mention this because it is kind of relevant. So you know, what turntable have you got then? And of course, that's relevant. So my turntable, you know, I'll pop a little picture in. It's a Clear Audio Master reference. It's no longer made. I can only guesstimate its current value from you know, what is in the current range and what, you know, typical similar products from other manufacturers cost. When I got it, it was about £10,000. Okay. I would guesstimate it would be at least 30 to 40 now. My tone arm is a Glanz MH124S, I believe, which is the wrong side of £5,000. I think it might be about 8,000, something like that. Cartridge is a Miyajima Kansui, which is about 4,000, something like that. So, you know, and my phono stage is an Aesthetics IO Eclipse, which is about 35 grand. So, you know, we're talking approaching £100,000 record, you know, vinyl front end. That's far from, you know, believe me, that's far from the best vinyl front end you can get. But it's a very, 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 very good one. Now, you know, I think you could justifiably buy this and play it and get, you know, really hear the benefit of what you're getting here. On you'd hear the difference. You would clearly hear the difference of this over this on a Riga, you know, a Riga Planar 3 or a Clear Audio Concept or some such thing. You know, so, you know, £1,000 turntable, something like that. Yeah, you know, if you want to buy a best part of £200 record and play it on that, you will definitely appreciate it. My only kind of thought there is like, you know, if you compared that sort of £1,000 turntable with, say, a £3,000 turntable of, you know, similar, you know, from a similar kind of brand, excuse me, you get a pretty big sonic jump. And we're probably talking a similar difference to these two. So, you know, one way of looking at this is buy this, play it on your £1,000 turntable, and it makes it sound like you've got a £3,000 turntable. My worry there is you've only got to buy 10 of these and you would have a £3,000 turntable, and then all of your records will sound that good, you know? But of course, then this will sound like your £3,000 turntable is like you've got a £5,000 or a £6,000 or a £7,000 turntable, etc., etc., etc. The point is, I'm saying, is like, even on, like, you know, 100 grand's worth of turntable, this is not going to touch the tape. Not, you know, clearly not by quite some margin, but it sounds very similar. Okay. And I think, you know, that's, I don't know if I've explained that very well, but that's kind of what I'm trying to just do, is put these in context. But, you know, so to sum up, if you really like the White Stripes and you like this album, I kind of think if you were going to buy any UHQR, I mean, I think my favourite UHQR is probably this one, and I don't know, the Rastaman Vibration maybe. You know, it sounds amazing, but this here just, it's just mind blowing. But it's, you know, don't expect some sort of audiophile, you know, like I said, it's not, you know, Friday Night in San Francisco. This is the White Stripes Elephant, and it is dirty and hard and grungy and, you know, devilishly fabulous, mind blowing. I absolutely love it. Absolutely mind-blowing. And you know, really, so I can't recommend it enough. Absolutely can't recommend it enough. And even having the tape, I'll probably keep hold of the UHQR because it's going to be one of the best sounding vinyl LPs I've got, even though it's a downright dirty recording, you know what I mean? And then the tape, what would I say about the tape? I think the tape is going to become probably my most played tape. Just because, you know, I mean, this is a reflection of how much I love the album, of course. But it is, you know, we want more of this sort of thing. We absolutely want more of this thing. Okay. Right. I think I'm going to wrap up there. I will say, I would like to say a massive, massive thank you to all my subscribers. I actually woke up this morning, checked on YouTube, and I have 3,000 subscribers. So, wow, thank you. That is absolutely amazing. I cannot thank you enough, each and every one of you. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for your support. Thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for all your comments. It's brilliant. I'm really, really, really happy. You made me very happy. You know, I kind of do this out of passion, really. Same reason as I started the Wheel Trail Rambler. I've worked in the hi-fi industry for 30 plus years, and you know, you get paid to do stuff, paid to promote stuff, this, that and the other. You know, I'm getting old and grey, and I just wanted to do something. I want to give something back, to just do something that's that doesn't pay. It's not commercial. You know, believe me, this might be £500 for £544 delivered. You know, Analogue Productions, Acoustic Sound, Chad, they will not be making money out of this. There's, you know, there's each of these reels of tape is £100, plus the box and everything else is probably another £100. You know, then you've got to make it, and each one of these is made in real time, in a studio with a, you know, proper studio engineer with proper studio aligned mastering recorders. It's you know, I would guess that Chad loses money on each one of these. It's you know, it's a lot of money for a recording, but for what you get, it's an absolute steal. And this, just one of the most mind-blowing vinyl LPs out there. And, you know, like I said earlier about, you know, if you've got a £1,000 turntable and you put this on, it'll probably make it sound like a £3,000 turntable. If you've got a £200 turntable and you put this on it, it'll probably make it sound like it's a £1,000 turntable. Don't not get it because you think, oh, my turntable's not good enough. You know, I would urge, you know, if you've got that sort of money to spend, I would urge that you upgrade your record player, obviously. You know, because you'll hear more and more and more of it. But this is just mind-blowing. There are only 10,000 of them being made. You know, it's, as Chad says, buy now or cry later. And that's, you know, the one reason I'm not looking forward to my credit card bill coming this month, because I'm going to have to pay for them. But they are amazing. And once again, thank you to all my subscribers. Thank you so very much. And watch this space. I shall be back soon. Okay, thanks. Bye.